Justin Fields, New York Jets, mutual interest. Could Justin Fields be the starting quarterback of the NYJ next season? We'll talk about that and much more all coming up here on a Tuesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, joined by our guy Gunny Gumby in his new weekly spot on the show.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk here on this Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. You are subscribed to the channel on your way into the building. It's completely free, helps us grow significantly, and also helps other people find the show. So much appreciated if you're able to do that. That's the free way to contribute, and anyone could do it. The paid way, though, is to give memberships or throw super chats in. Every $2.99 super chat and every gifted membership will get you a ticket into our membership raffle. Throw the ticker on down below. Joe Klecko signed jersey, Mark Gastineau signed jersey, Bill Parcells signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji among the prizes we're giving away this month. Can't thank you enough for all your support. You guys have been beyond generous these past few months, which really means a lot to me in the show as we continue to cover the New York Jets every single freaking day here on NY Flight Jets Talk, and I certainly couldn't do it without you guys, but let's bring on our guest for today's show, Jets content creating loyalty, our guy Gunny Gumby from New York Jets Situation Report here in his new weekly spot. Gunny, appreciate you hopping on as always, and super happy we can make this a weekly thing here.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. We've been talking about this for a little while now, so glad we can finally get the time on the books for us to go ahead and have some fun during the offseason. There's going to be some exciting news week in and week out. What better time for us to go ahead and get together as Jets fans and just pretty much talk Jets football. Appreciate
Gunny,
you having me, Connor.
Of course, Gunny, when is there never a dull moment in Jetsland? There's always something to talk about.
Facts.
News that came out last night, is from Connor Hughes of SNY, stating that the Jets are now expected to move on from Morgan Moses. Gunny, I want your initial thoughts on this report here from Connor Hughes. Doesn't make too much sense for me. Morgan Moses is a leader, a veteran name who could come in. Doesn't particularly have to be the starting right tackle next season. Can help groom the next guy. He's not particularly durable, but he battles through injuries. He's a leader, locker room type guy, someone you could bring back for $5 million next season who's pretty much an average starter, and he wouldn't even need to be a starter potentially. A backup for a team with not that much cap space. I think you're just making an extra hold here for no particular reason.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. It didn't make sense to me when I came out. I mean, again, we haven't heard anything come out of One Jets Drive regarding, the departure of a Morgan Moses, but it makes zero sense. This is a guy who played through injury last year. He held down the right side. Granted, he was the weakest link on the offensive line, predominantly due to those injuries. But Morgan Moses is more than capable. He's also loves the New York Jets. This is a guy who's passionate about the team, loves that O-line. He came here wanting to go ahead and be a part of the change. It doesn't make sense. I don't think he's going to go ahead and ask for a lot. We have the hole there at right tackle. Even if he was to be the backup or the swing tackle, which we know he can go ahead and be the swing tackle, it makes all the sense in the world having a veteran presence. On what we have is a pretty young offensive line right now when you look at it. So having a veteran presence, a guy who's been in the league for quite some time, who's excelled in the league for quite some time on that offensive line, it just makes too much sense. So I don't know if there's any validity to this. I'm hoping there's not. I, for one, would love to go ahead and see Morgan Moses back in green and white.
1,000%. Again, I just think you're creating an extra hole that you didn't particularly need. But Gunny, when was the last time we sat down and we said four-fifths of the Jets' offensive line is solidified? It feels like every year we're looking for 3 to 4 new starters. Again, though, this, in my opinion, is just creating an extra hole you don't need. How do they fill the right tackle position, though, now? Is it sliding Elijah Vera Tucker out to tackle, which I'm not a big fan of, because whenever he's played tackle, he's gotten hurt. And when he's healthy, pretty much, he's an all-pro at guard. I want to leave him at the guard position. Is it potentially trying to draft someone? Hollins Pierce from Rutgers is a name that I keep hearing. A Connor Colby from Iowa is another name I keep hearing. Gunny, which route do you think the Jets go to fill the right tackle position?
I think you got to go the offensive the draft in this draft. It's a very, very line heavy draft. I'm talking about defensive line and offensive line. I know, speaking with Dom, he's got some concerns in regards to some of these guys, how they're going to transition to that right tackle spot at the NFL level. But the thing is, there's an abundance of them coming out of this draft where you can can go ahead and kind of pick the one you feel could potentially fill that role. And it's not going to cost you a high pick to get a guy, a second rounder, a third round, even a fourth rounder. With how much depth there is in this class, you can find somebody to go ahead and be on that right side. I'm with you, man. I don't think we should move Elijah Vera Tucker. It makes zero sense. Every time we've moved a guy, he's gotten hurt. I get it. It's cool to have him as a versatile piece. He can play the right tackle and right guard, but let the man just do what he's been doing. Right, he looked really good last year at that position. Let's get some continuity ongoing right now with this offensive line. The moving back and forth aspect just creates a little bit of discontent, in my opinion, in regards to him having to go ahead and reposition himself, readjust his technique to go ahead and modify himself for that right tackle spot. Let's leave continuity on the offensive line from freaking right guard all the way down to the left. We've got it identified. Bringing somebody else to be the right tackle. I think the draft is the route to do it, but I'm still very heavy on keeping Morgan Moses in the building because, again, not only can he be that veteran presence on that offensive line because, again, it's a young offensive line now. We got a bunch of young studs. Yeah. He can also play the swing tackle. He's done it before in the past. He's more than willing to do it because he's all about the game, and he's very passionate about the New York Jets.
Absolutely, 1000%. Just think 2 different stints with this team, and he didn't. When he got traded to Baltimore, he didn't even want to get traded. He was very vocal on, "I want to be a New York Jet. I'm willing to do everything it can to, I'm willing to do everything I can to embody what it's like to be a member of the NYJ." So, like I said, just a move I don't understand. Another name I wanted to throw in there, if the Jets were to go the drafting route, is Ozzie Trapillo in the 3rd round, the tackle out of Boston College. I know Dom is very, very high on him. Dom had a great conversation down with him at the Senior Bowl. Grew up in the Northeast, played in Boston, and I know a lot of analysts are very high on him. I watched a few of his games. I think I have an early 3rd round grade on him. I don't think he's going to be there at 92, but if he's there, I think you run that card right up to the podium. So a lot of different routes the Jets could go. I'm going to pull up this comment here from Yer. If you have any questions for Gunny and I, throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, you can use the pinned comment at the top of the chat. It says, Connor, if you don't mind asking Gunny about Dredrick Willis, also just a stopgap option. I know he's not great, but maybe as a depth signing. Gunny, the 1st round pick in 2020 by the Browns, 25 years old. I looked up his numbers earlier today. The thing is, he's basically, from a numbers perspective, in line with what Morgan Moses did this past season, and they're probably in line to make the same amount of money. So again, this just goes back to the point, creating an unnecessary hole. If you're going to go this route, you might as well have just kept Morgan Moses.
Yeah, no, Jedrick Wills, I saw that he was potentially going to be an option for a team in need of some line help. I guess the price dictates. You're looking at a guy who is pretty young. He does have a 1st round pedigree to him. I understand the potential of maybe a change of scenery might do him some good. But I'm with you, man, in terms of overall performance. Him and Morgan Moses are on the same playing field. You're also talking about similar price points in terms of keeping them in the building. But then the question you got to ask yourself is, you bring in a 25-year-old freaking Willis into the building. Does he do like freaking, Mekhi Becton did when he went to the Eagles? All of a sudden, the change of scenery pretty much shows him a resurgence. And, what I'm saying? He's playing at a high level. It's very feasible. At 25, he's still very young. There's a lot of growth still there. But, yeah, he hasn't been great. He has not lived up to that 1st round pedigree. But if you're telling me, like you're going to bring him in at the same price as a Morgan Moses, maybe he's a swing tackle, 2-year option at 25. I think you almost got to do yourself the due diligence to make sure that, one, like he's going to be in line with being a contributor to this offensive line, and that he can potentially have a higher ceiling in terms of what Morgan Moses could potentially have now. We know what Morgan Moses is. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't, only because I love his age. I liked him coming out of college. He hasn't really lived up to his I guess what you can say was his draft pedigree, but maybe a change of scenery gets him back on track. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I agree with you. Like it is kind of concerning that we're going to create a hole unnecessarily, especially since we know Morgan Moses wants to be here.
Gunny, one thing I will say, the Mekhi Becton's a conversation for another day. I don't even know if it was so much Mekhi Becton going to the Eagles, the change of scenery is what helped him. I think the Eagles being able to talk to him, sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, unlike what the Jets did, because the Jets didn't tell him this, they said, hey, do you want to slide in and play guard? And he was very stubborn. No, I'm staying on the outside. I'm playing tackles. Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, they got in that room with Mekhi Becton and they said, you're sliding into guard. If you want to play next season, you're sliding in and you're playing guard. And that's ultimately what I think made him have so much success. Because towards the end of his run with the Jets, he was getting really, really big to play on the outside. I think he really needed to slide him in, and ultimately that's what the Eagles do, which I think ultimately led to his success. So that's where we are, Gunny and I, on the offensive line move. The Jets moving on from Morgan Moses. Both of us not too big fans of it. If you have any questions, like I said, throw them in the chat. Call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat, Gunny. I think the most important news we've seen recently is surrounding the quarterback position. Gunny, I don't know if you saw, but the Jets moved on from some guy named Aaron Rodgers just a few days ago. I don't know if you've heard anything, but a lot of people have been talking about it. It's news to my ears, and they've been talking about this Justin Fields guy who's been known as a top free agent this offseason. Look, Gunny, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said the Jets and Fields have mutual interest. I'm for bringing in Justin Fields, but for me, it has to be at the right price. I'm not paying this guy $10 million next season, but on the flip side, he's going to be 26 years old in a month. He's improved every year, and with solid coaching, I think he has the potential to be a solid NFL quarterback. I'm not saying a franchise guy, but someone who's able to come in for a few years and make an impact on your team. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to say a Fields Tyrod Taylor combo, where Tyrod Taylor gets you 10 starts, Fields gets you 7. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. You can go 9-8, 10-7 there with competent coaching and a solid defense. So I'm for bringing in Justin Fields if it's at the right price for the NYJ.
I'm 100% with you, man. After this dude, Aaron, apparently got let go by the Jets, I immediately started looking at what the next options would be for the New York Jets. And Justin Fields, for me, was at the top of the list. A lot of individuals think I'm crazy when I say it, but in terms of the free agents available to you, it's very limited options of what you can bring into the building right now to be that bridge, or maybe excite the fan base or excite the team to go ahead and potentially sneak a couple of wins this season. I think Justin Fields does that. Justin Fields is literally an elite athlete. He brings an elite trait to the quarterback position. He's an elite athlete at the position. Let's just call it what it is. His ability to go ahead and run is amongst the top tier in the NFL. Yes. As you stated before, he's gotten better every single year, statistically every single year he's played in the league. You're talking about it in Chicago, where he had really no help, no offensive line, no weapons. Nope. Every single year, he still got
coordinator,
better.
No coach.
No coordinator, incompetent coaching. Like, it was just one of those things where he was a man on an island, and somehow, some way, he got better every single year. He gave his team a chance every single year. Now, I know some individuals look at him and they think he's not a quarterback. He can't throw the ball. The release is too slow. He can't read defenses. Listen, I think some of those things you can go ahead and, like you said before, put some competent coaching around him, simplify the game for him a little bit, where he doesn't have to be freaking Tom Brady out there reading defenses and calling adjustments. But here's the play. If they do this, you do this. If they do that, you do this. Simplify the game for him. And you saw him go, 6-4, 6-3 with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year.
4-2 last season. 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah, 6
My
starts.
apologies. 4-2.
You're good.
And you're talking about a guy who literally left last year as a winner, but they brought in Russell Wilson because they wanted to do some more in the pass game, which is understandable. But he didn't turn the ball over. He came in clutch to get some first downs using his legs when he needed to. He played the game. He was a good to great game manager for the Steelers. You bring him in, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you go ahead and create some packages for him. Like you said before, him and Tyrod Taylor collectively could go ahead and do some exciting things. Both of those guys are athletes that can go ahead and use their legs. They're very mobile. I'm for it, man. I think bringing in Justin Fields makes a lot of sense. A lot of people keep talking about the Garrett Wilson connection. I don't really think that has much to do with it. It's been a while since they played together, but it doesn't hurt, right? Garrett Wilson might be happy to have one of the guys he played with in the building. We know there was some discontent with him and Aaron Rodgers when we brought in Devontae Adams. So for me, you bring in Justin Fields and be prepared, Jets fans. Like, this season might not be the best season for us. Like, we're hoping for the best, but for me, I'm looking at this might be a retooling season. It might be. We might have to go ahead and just suck it up and then wait for next year to really find our quarterback in that draft class, because I think it's going to be a stacked draft class for quarterbacks. And then after that, get other pieces necessary to go ahead and really start seeing this thing turn around. I think we can all agree that we all thought we were one player away. We all swore up and down. We just needed the quarterback in the building, and we were going to go ahead and dominate. We had a quarterback in the building last year. It didn't matter. He finished out with freaking, I think, top 15, top 16 stats quarterback-wise. The average quarterback, we kept swearing, is all we needed to go ahead and make the playoffs. It didn't happen. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves and be prepared for a bit of a retool. It's going to suck, man. I think the Jets can win as much as 4 to 5 games with a ceiling of, like you said, 9.
Oh, no,
ceiling is 9, yeah. But I can see it also going 4 to 5 games with a ceiling of 9. I think 10 would be a reach, but 10 wins potentially if you can sneak a couple in our division. But it's gonna be a rough season for the Jets next year. I think that, and I think we should all expect that, because if we don't start talking Super Bowl or anything like that, then I think we won't hurt our own feelings next year watching some of these games.
Gunny, the main thing for me when people say they don't want Justin Fields, who on the open market are you bringing in that gives you a better chance to win every single Sunday than Justin Fields? I understand he needs to improve as a passer, and like we just spoke about, that comes with good coaching. However, he's a dual threat type guy, and when he's on the field alongside Braylon Allen, alongside Brees Hall, alongside Isaiah Davis, you have to worry about not only, Brees Hall beating you with his feet, but also Justin Fields on that read option. 3rd and 4, can Justin Fields get you 6 yards to pick up a first down? Yes. So, give me Justin Fields 1 year, $8 million with Tyrod Taylor as the week 1 starter, and then Justin Fields ultimately comes in for relief once we all see the inevitable, which is Tyrod Taylor getting hurt every single year about 6 or 7 weeks in. Then you draft a guy on not a first-round pick, Jackson Dart. We're going to get into him in a little. I think that's an absolute mess. What's happening with him? A Kyle McCord, a Will Howard, someone you get in here right away. And then they're the backup, maybe 3rd string for part of the season. And then, in my opinion, Jordan Travis is battling for a roster spot. I know we talked about it last week, but if they draft a quarterback, I don't think there's a guarantee Jordan Travis is with this team next year. The new regime didn't draft him. They want someone healthy, I think, as the backup / 3rd string guy next year. So, again, that's something to look out for. I don't think Jordan Travis is a lock to be a lock, really, to make the roster next season. He's certainly going to be on the training camp roster, even if he's even healthy to practice. But other than that, I don't think we can expect much out of Jordan Travis. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Completely free, helps us grow significantly. Gunny Gumby, Connor Long, here with you guys on NY Flight Jets Talk. Follow Gunny, New York Jets Situation Report, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Shoot Gunny a follow. Yeah, one of the best Jets content creators, so give him a follow. Any questions for us? Of course, any questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get to those. Call one of the show. Pin comment, get to your question soon. Gunny, now let's transition over to the draft. We made it until February 18th before now we dig deep into mock draft discussions. Daniel Jeremiah in his 2nd mock draft of the offseason. Tyler Warren to the New York Jets. He had the same pick last week. That was funny enough. He mocked Tyler Warren to the Jets in his 1st mock draft as well. So he seems pretty big on Tyler Warren of the NYJ. I like Tyler Warren for his build. He's a traditional tight end, big yak guy. We're talking 6'6", 260. He's able to make plays after the catch, able to accelerate, breaks a lot of tackles. Here's the thing. Tyler Warren at 7 is a little rich for me, but if Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn really like him, and Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, both those guys are off the board, I would go for Tyler Warren at pick 7 if you can't find a partner to trade back with.
Yeah, so for me, Tyler was my guy, like, coming into this offseason, right? I in my head, I convinced myself that Aaron Rodgers was going to go ahead and obviously come back. We're going to go ahead and try to run it back a little bit with better coaching. And I felt we needed a big tight end that's going to go ahead and allow his job to be a little easier, even though we know that Aaron Rodgers doesn't utilize the tight end very much. I convinced myself that this was going to be the move. So I like Tyler Warren. I watched a lot of tape on Tyler Warren. I like his size. I like his speed. I like his hands. He's a good route runner. He's a willing blocker as well. The kid does the dirty stuff, man. He reminds me of, and this isn't to say he's going to ever be this guy, but he reminds me of like a baby Gronk in terms of his willingness to go ahead and do the dirty work as well. And the guy is going to fight for extra yardage. I love the grittiness. I think the offense needs one of those physical type of guys on it. I don't know if we necessarily have one of those guys. We were kind of hoping Malachi Corley was going to be that dude. We didn't really get to see him utilized much last season. Hopefully this changes going into this year. But like you just stated, this is a whole new regime. They might love him, they might hate him. We really won't know until we know. But Tyler Warren to me is definitely high on my list. But with the mock draft, though, Tet was still available. I think
he can go till 19,
like 19 or something. Which is
that made me lose
utterly ridiculous to me.
He's going to be a top 5 pick. He's my number 1 player.
I think so too.
If he's somehow there at 7, you run that up to the podium as fast as humanly possible.
Don't think about it.
You're talking someone who has the best body control we've seen in decades coming out of the college level. Someone who has generational hands. Someone who, the route running can use some work, but it's able to get by at the NFL level.
Yeah.
And he's a solid run blocker too. And you're telling me he's there at pick 7 when the Jets need a ton of receiver help, when they have one legit, in my opinion, rosterable NFL wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. You run that card up to the podium
100%.
As fast as humanly possible. Gunny, the next topic I wanted to get into here before we get to everyone's questions in the chat. Jackson Dart. I came up with the nickname the Dart Dudes because the Bauer boys last year, the Dart
Yep,
Dudes
the
is
Dart Dudes.
is,
I
is
like
what
that.
we're gonna roll with now.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, Gunny. I'm gonna let you go
7
first
is
here.
it's
I can't emphasize how low I am on Jackson Dart.
this
You
is one of
fire
those
away
things.
first.
I got you. This is one of those things where people talking about Jackson Dart at 7 is just like I don't get it. I don't understand. Yes, is he somebody that I would be okay with the Jets drafting? Sure. Second round. If we traded back and then
I don't
got
even
him
have that
into
this one.
and that's fair, right? But for me, if you're gonna take a chance on a quarterback that you like and he's there in the second, that's where you feel like, all right, cool. We'll use a second on this guy. I just don't. Again, I'm not high on any of the quarterbacks in this class. I'm not. I don't think any of them really have first round pedigrees to me. I'm not a fan of Ward. I'm not a fan of Shedeur Sanders. And I do like Dart, but not in the first round.
No.
I think that we need to stay away from the quarterbacks in the first, if I'm being honest. I think you take this pick, number 7 pick, if you can't trade back for any reason, then you go ahead and you take the best offensive weapon available. I don't think Abdul Carter is going to fall down to us. I think he's the one true blue chipper in this draft class. I think he's the can't miss guy. But Abdul Carter is probably going in the top 3. And if that's the case, fine. Then you take a Tet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people don't like Mason Graham. I would understand that. Like Tyler Warren at 7, I think, man, that's high up there. But if he's the last of the offensive weapons, then I can understand that if you can't find a trading partner. I think you build on this roster for next year's quarterback. That's my thought process. I think this year you take this draft, you take this offseason, and you contribute pieces that's going to be there and be a part of this new culture you're building, be a part of this process, understand the offense. So next year, when the draft class is deep, you make whatever moves you want to go up and get your guy, right? If your guy's there, you want to package first and whatever to get him, go get him. Because that draft class, I think there's going to be a couple of options worthy of moving up for. And you'll have a core or at least a foundation of young talent that's understanding the culture you're trying to build and already a year into the system we're trying to go with. And that's the route I think we should take. If we avoid quarterback this draft class in terms of first, second, third rounder, cool. I am a fan of the kids you've been talking about a lot. I've been looking at McCord. I know you're a big fan of him.
Big
I did not,
and Will Howard.
I did not realize the kid had a release that fast. I did not realize he was
the
that
layers
accurate.
He could add to his ball, the velocity. He's Jared Goff. I'm telling you, he's Jared Goff. If Jared Goff was 2 inches shorter. Literally, that's who Kyle McCord is. And I'm gonna weigh in now on Jackson Dart. I'm not even. You're talking second round. He's gonna go in the first round this year. Trust me. He's
100%. He will.
And every day that goes by, I grow more and more worried that the Jets are gonna feel more gravitated to take Jackson Dart with the 7th overall pick. You're talking second round. He's, like I said, he's going to go in the first round. He's a third round, fourth round NFL type quarterback. This is someone who, first off, has never ran a pro level offensive scheme in his entire college career. So you're basically going to need to teach him, take him from Lane Kiffin's offensive scheme in Ole Miss. He's going to need to sit for at least 1 season, in my opinion, until he does anything at the NFL level, because you're going to have to teach him how to literally play the position at the next level. Also, very, very slow to read defenses after the snap. And when pressure is bearing down, I hate to say it, reminds me of exactly of Zach Wilson in the way that he reacts when the pocket starts to collapse and pressure bears down on them. I don't know if that's completely fair to
that's so rude. That's so rude.
But I mean, when you watch him, he panics. The pocket starts to collapse. He doesn't have great pocket awareness. He starts to panic. So Dart Gunny is my quarterback 5. In this year's draft class. You're gonna
who's 3 and 4? I'm curious.
So I don't even have Shedeur as my quarterback too. I have a lot of hot takes with this quarterback class. So Cam Ward is the only one I have a first round grade on. He's gonna go in the top 3. Obviously, I have a top 10 grade on Cam Ward. My second quarterback is Will Howard. I'm super, super high on Will Howard, over 1,800 dropbacks at the college level. I'm really, really I'm big on who are you going to be able to bring in as a quarterback, and they're going to be able to adapt to the NFL offensive level quickly. You're able to do that with Will Howard. Chip Kelly is OC at Ohio State, is now the Raiders offensive coordinator. He was running a pro-level offensive scheme across his time at Ohio State. The athleticism could use some work, but again, he's someone who's on the more accurate side. He's able to, deep ball could be a little inconsistent at times, but similar to McCord, does a great job of adding velocity, layers, touch to his ball. So it's more so I like Will Howard, but at the same time, that's more of a detriment to how bad overall I think the quarterback class is. While I like Howard, I think in
fair.
last year's quarterback class, he would be my quarterback 4 or 5. He certainly wouldn't be my quarterback 2. My quarterback 3 is Shedeur Sanders. Again, someone who's going to go in the top 5. I have a late, mid to late round 2 grade on him. I just think Gunny, by the way, you think I'm low on Jackson Dart? Trevor Sikkema of PFF has him as his quarterback 7. So there are people who dislike Jackson Dart a lot more than me. So I have, behind him, I have, who did I just say? Not Will Howard. Who was I? Will Howard, I like. She could do the pro-level offensive scheme. Yeah, Kyle McCord.
Right.
Kyle McCord I have at 4. I was talking about Shedeur. Shedeur is who I have at 3. Again, I think people are high on Shedeur because he is the big last name. He was playing at Colorado, which they hadn't made a bowl game since 2016, but then they bring in Dion, they bring in all the attractive names: Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn, Travis Hunter. I don't even think Shedur's a solid athlete, but he isn't someone who's going to just leave you in awe with his athleticism. No, he takes way too long to get rid of the ball. The luggage that's going to come with him, and Deion Sanders and the whole Sanders family. Quarterback 3 for me. 4, I have Kyle McCord with an early round 3 grade on him. For all the reasons you mentioned, pocket passer, athleticism could use some work, but he's such an accurate passer when he has time to make his reads in the pocket. I would take Jackson Dart over every one of those guys. And then behind Dart, I have Gabriel at 6, Milroe at 7, Riley Leonard at 8, Tyler Shuck. Curtis Rourke at 9, Tyler Shuck at 10. Those are the guys I have with draftable grades.
Man, Milroe at 7. I think Milroe might go in the first too because people are
no one's
really high on his. You don't think so?
That's a huge mistake. He's Anthony Richardson 2.0. He is. He's a pure athlete. He's a pure athlete who you're gonna have to take, Gunny, and you're literally gonna not only, for example, it's a different thing with It's a whole different thing, for example, with Jackson Dart. Like, he knows how to – you're going to need to take Jalen Milroe and literally teach him how to play the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You're going to have to teach him how to play. He's going to have to sit – the only reason someone would take him in the first round is if they're somewhat high on him and they want the fifth-year option. That's the only reason someone would go up into the first round and take Jalen Milroe, because he's a fourth, fifth-round talent. I just don't think he's that good. He's so accurate. Here's my thing. He is the highest upside. That's another thing. He's the highest ceiling, in my opinion, among all these guys. So when do we see a 6'4", dual threat type guy who's able to
rocket for his arm strength is just gross.
It's like Joe Milton and Anthony Richardson combined. Literally, that's exactly what it looks like. Joe Milton with the erratic but yet strong, insanely strong arm, and then Anthony Richardson with overall just like the physical build at 6'3". What is he? 235,
235, something monstrous.
240, something like that. So it's like, here's Anthony Richardson and Joe Milton. Gunny, Jalen Milroe's there in the third round. You take him.
Okay, now, who are the quarterbacks available in the third?
The third, Kyle McCord, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard.
I think I'm going McCord. I just like the consistency.
I would take Howard there. I would take Howard over McCord.
You take Howard over McCord? I haven't done enough research on Howard yet.
Big. I'm a huge Kyle McCord fan, but
isn't Howard like 6'4", 6'5"? He's big. He's a big dude, right?
6'4", 225. Yeah.
Ohio quarterback. I'll watch some more on him. I just know you've been talking about Kyle McCord so much. I was just like, man, let me go take a look at this kid. And I was like, okay, I see what you mean in terms of the consistency. Very, very accurate. That 15 to like that short to intermediate freaking game, the dude is just money. He just doesn't miss getting the ball into his playmakers' hands. Like, I was like, all right, I can see what you're talking about. Brees and Garrett Wilson would love this guy because he'll put the ball right where it needs to be for them to go ahead and make plays after they catch. And that's very transferable to the NFL too. Like, the guy seems to have a very high football IQ. He doesn't seem to get rattled very much. Like you said, he's not an athlete though. The dude is definitely a pocket passer. Like, he cannot move.
He's Jared Goff. He's Jared, and maybe Tanner, because Jared. That's interesting. I never thought of that. I just drew the Jared Goff comp, but I forgot that. I always forgot when I was drawing these parallels. Tanner Engstrand's the Jets' offensive coordinator. Steve Hyden's their offensive line coach. Aaron Glenn's their head coach. Kyle McCord, Jared Goff. See what the Lions did last season with Jared Goff?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, hey. We got to take a flyer on a mid to late round quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Without a doubt.
One of those guys is there in the third, you got to take your chance. And man, okay. Great value Jared Goff, huh? Okay.
Yeah. I would take Howard over McCord, but if McCord's on the board, we're talking third, fourth round. I think you take him. I'm telling you, Gunny, McCord is being slept on significantly. He's going to be there in the fourth round. He should be a second or third round pick, but when all said and done, I think he's going to be there in the fourth round. I think the Jets are going to walk away with a quarterback at some point in the NFL draft. Is it Dart at 7? I think it's like a 60% chance at this point they take Dart, and it's growing day by day. I really
60
do.
Is scary.
This organization, Gunny, does not learn from their mistakes. Rick Spielman is a huge Jackson Dart fan. I'm telling you, it's growing day by day. I think there's going to be, and they can't do it. They can't. I would rather take Will Campbell Jr. or Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks Jr. With 7th overall pick, and I have second round grades on both those guys. I am so down. They're not even going to be tackles at the next level. They're going to be guards. But that just goes to show, I would literally take any other player in this year's NFL draft over Jackson Dart.
But.
Yeah, I would take Kyle McCord with the 7th overall pick before I take Jackson Dart.
Wow.
That goes back to my quarterback rankings, Gunny.
Yeah.
I would take Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, Kyle McCord all over Jackson Dart with the 7th overall pick. I don't think he's going to be anything at the next level. So Gunny, I'm doing a live watch party for the draft, so you guys will see my reaction. If they call Jackson Dart's name, I'm going to leave my room and I'm going to slam my door. That is what's going to happen if Jackson Dart's name is called with the 7th overall pick. But Gunny, appreciate you hopping on as always, guys. I'm going to stay on a little longer, answer your questions, take your calls. But Gunny, he has a show at 9 with our guy Tigo tonight, the Hanger Hangout. Gunny, so super happy we were able to do this. And great luck on your show tonight. You got any final thoughts? Plug everything in. I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Yeah, see you next week, man. Ultimately, I'm on the Hanger Hangout tonight, every Tuesday night, Thursday, think of it as well. But I'm looking forward to this, Connor. I'm glad to do more of my homework because you come prepared when it comes to the mock drafts, and I've done the top 10 in each particular category that I just would go to. But I'm gonna have to do some more research because I want to come on here and definitely go back and forth with you. But appreciate you having me on, brother. I'll see you next week. Of course,
Gunny, have a great night.
Okay.
Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, our guy Gunny Gumby checking in here on the show from New York Jets Situation Report. Shoot him a sub. Tune into a show at 9 p.m. with Tigo. Great guy, great content as always. I'm going to stay on here a little longer, answer your questions, take your calls. Any questions, throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Appreciate your support as always. Smash the like, subscribe. 48 of you guys watching on YouTube, only 25 likes, so please, please, please hit the like button. Completely free and helps us grow significantly. Also hit subscribe, guys. We're talking about the draft. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL draft, less than 400 away, so please like, share, and subscribe. It's completely free and helps us grow significantly here on NY Flight Jets Talk. Keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. We just spoke to one Jets content creator. Let's bring on another one. Our guy Liam from the Jets Afterburners podcast here on the show. Liam, how you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Can't complain. Liam, thoughts on the way the mock draft season's been treating you? Thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers decision? How you doing over there?
Doing good, man. It took me a little while to warm up to the whole Aaron Rodgers thing because he does give you the best chance to win, but then you start to look at it, the best chance to win what? They're not in position.
Go 9-8 and get blown out. First time.
They're not in position to be winning a Super Bowl this year. They're not just a quarterback away. There's plenty of holes on this team, and I was just listening to your take on the quarterbacks, and to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of taking a quarterback this year.
Okay, I see that. It depends. In the right spot, I would. In the right spot, I'm taking a quarterback. For example, if I'm in the 5th round. And, you've already taken a tight end, you've taken a safety or two, and Kyle McCord's on the board in the 5th round. I'm taking it. It all comes down to overall positional value, best player available, who's on the board at that time. For example, That's the scenario where I'm taking a quarterback. I don't want to reach for a quarterback. That's the bottom line. So I'm taking a quarterback where at least where I have them graded, hopefully, or just slightly below where I have them graded. I don't want to reach on any quarterback. You never want to reach on any position, but especially not a quarterback in a draft where at least the Jets, we don't know. The Jets are the Jets. They could try to take Jackson Dart at 7 and have him be their franchise guy, but draft at least where I feel they're not hunting for their franchise guy.
With these guys, nothing will surprise me. But the thing is, like, I don't like what are you expecting out of like a fifth round draft pick?
Quarterback or like
Yeah, yeah,
depends on the
quarterback.
position. Quarterback, they see what you have in training camp in the preseason. Just think like a healthy Jordan Travis, basically. See what they have in training camp in the preseason. Have them host somewhat of a battle for the quarterback one job, and then you have them sit for it depends. It all depends, Liam, if they signed a veteran though in free agency. If they don't, and it's Tyrod the rookie and Jordan Travis is the third string, then expect to see the rookie at least I'd say 4 or 5 starts next season. If they bring in another veteran, maybe you see the quarterback. Who knows? Maybe the quarterback surprise wins the starting job, but most likely I'd say you see him week 18, then you see him overall 3 starts, something like that. Don't expect them to come in and be the week 1 starter right away. I think they're going to at least have to sit for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think this quarterback class is just really weak, and there's so many
Mhm.
holes on this team that it might be better off next year going to get your guy. I mean, like, this is already going to be a
Exactly.
bridge year. You have Tyrod here. I'm expecting Tyrod to be the starter.
Same
I'm
here.
not opposed to bringing in a Justin Fields, especially with the connection that he already has with Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson was pretty pissed off last year towards the end when everything just got fed to Devontae. I don't blame him. One of the main reasons Aaron Rodgers came here was because he already had a wide receiver one. Now, with that being said, I'm expecting maybe to bring in, like I said, a Justin Fields, or I'm not even against Kirk Cousins, just because of the
What
money. Because of the
do
money.
you want to punt on next season though? Like completely
It's not
punt.
it's not punting.
Just
It
bringing
I'm
in
not
Kirk Cousins is punting on next season. That's the bottom line.
not to be the starter. I didn't say to be the starter.
He's going to
You
get a
could get
starting job
you could
somewhere.
get him here for dirt cheap.
Again,
Now,
he's
if
but he's going to get a starting job somewhere.
I don't
Whether
know
it's with
that.
the whether it's with the
He
Jets,
looked almost unplayable last year. I'm kind
he
of
did,
bringing
but
him in
teams are not going to
for
forget
his
about what
brain.
he did with Kevin O'Connell in 2023.
Yeah, but then they're also not going to forget what they did in 2024, where he was almost unplayable towards the end of the year.
Absolutely, but I could see Kevin's. Let's keep in mind here. I could see the Browns being interested in that because you got a GM like Andrew Berry. He's always looking to make moves. And for example, here Kirk Cousins, who thrived in 2023 with an offensive minded head coach in Kevin O'Connell. Then he goes to the Falcons in 20. I'm not advocating for Kirk Cousins, guys. Let's be clear. I hate Kirk Cousins. I would just jump off a bridge if the Jets signed him and he was their day 1 starter. That's how I would probably take Jackson Dart as a starter week 1 over Kirk Cousins. And you guys know how low I am on Dart just from the past few minutes here. Kirk Cousins, signing him first off is punting on next season. Also, Kevin Stefanski, who is not, I wouldn't say runs as high powered of an offensive scheme as Kevin O'Connell does in Minnesota, but I could see Andrew Berry looking and saying, hey, Kirk struggled, but let's keep in mind, there was a rookie quarterback behind him. They were kind of eager to get him on the field. They had an okay record once they benched Kirk. They were around 500, and that was with a defensive-minded head coach. We have an offensive guru in Kevin Stefanski, who won the Head Coach of the Year award just a few years ago. Let's bring him in and have him compete here. We'll get him on the vet minimum. We need a lot of holes to fill. Cool, throw him in there as a placeholder.
Now, would you be okay with Tyrod starting, bringing in Kirk, and then drafting a quarterback? And you're kind of using Kirk for his brain. He's a veteran quarterback. He's been around the league.
Mhm.
Let me be clear. I'm not banging the table saying, the Jets need to go out and get Kirk Cousins. If they were to do so, I understand it because he's on a dirt cheap contract. Uh, he could offer a lot, especially in the locker room, in film room. He can kind of show you how to be a pro. I mean,
Yeah,
I think his starting days are past him. I don't think he should be starting anywhere, but I wouldn't be opposed to it 100%.
uh, uh,
I'm not a fan
yeah.
of taking. I'll be the first to say I'm not a fan of taking a quarterback in this year's draft.
Mhm.
I think the quarterbacks are much more polished next year, and I get it. At some point, they're gonna have to get their guy, but why not get a guy with higher upside, a guy that is a little bit more developed? And not only that, I'm not sure. Has like Angstrand or anybody on this coaching staff developed a quarterback before? I don't think so.
No, because they've never like Tanner Ranktrain's never been an offensive coordinator, so it's hard to say what is developing a quarterback for him. So yeah, no one on the staff is that. You could say Scott Turner wasn't there Scott
Yeah.
Turner with Aiden O'Connell, like that was
I
their
guess,
interim
yeah.
offensive, or Scott Turner with Taylor Heineke, and or no, Scott Turner with Sam Howell is what it would have been. That would have been That's the only credit you give Scott Turner with Sam Howell, and that obviously didn't go well, but that's hard to judge off of because first Scott Turner's the Jets passing game coordinator, second with Sam Howell in Washington. That was an absolute mess the way their roster was just structured overall. Back to your plan of Kirk Cousins drafting a guy in Tyrod Taylor. I'd accept that scenario if Kirk was the third string guy. Sorry, if Kirk was the
That's what it
third.
would be.
Again, he's going to get a starting job somewhere. So why would he settle for a third string job? He's going to be a starter on the vet minimum. He would take that starting job with the Browns on a vet minimum over a third string job with the Jets on the vet minimum any day of the week. Like, he's going to get the vet minimum, but he's going to be a starter somewhere next season.
I mean, yeah, if I were him, I would want to start too, obviously. But if something's not available, then, like I said, it's not going to be like as soon as I can, I'm going to sign Kirk Cousins. But if he's out there, nobody's picking him up, and it doesn't cost really anything to bring him in, I don't see why not.
Liam, appreciate you calling in as always. Appreciate your support. Plug everything.
Thanks, man. Yeah, just Jets Afterburners podcast every Thursday, 9 p.m. You know where to find me.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guy Liam checking in here on the show. Great call. Appreciate your support as always. Sub him up, Jets Afterburner podcast. Him, Dan, Armand, everyone on that, everyone with the Jets Afterburners, they all do a great job. So shoot him a sub on YouTube. Shoot him a follow, Twitter, Instagram. Support Liam, support Dan. They do great stuff as always. Both Liam and Dan have called in. Ton have been on their show before, so shoot him a sub. Great Jets content. Appreciate you guys as always. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. 51 of you in the building here on YouTube. And we got 27 likes, so please hit the like button. Please subscribe. It's completely free. Helps us grow significantly. I'm going to wrap up here in a few minutes. Call into the show, though, with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Throw your questions in. We'll get to those. Well behind in the chat. Sorry, like 30 minutes behind in the chat. Sorry about that, guys. Great. We were interviewing Gunny, obviously, and then Liam calls in. Yours says the free agent tackles aren't sexy at all. The top tackle is like Cam Robinson is always rated. I like Pat McCarry from the Ravens, but I feel like he's more of a guard, maybe out of our price cap. This goes back to the whole point. Now we're scrambling from options that are equal at skill level or produce at a lower caliber than Morgan Moses. You're just creating an extra hole by moving on from him. That just goes back all to my original point. Out of those names, I would take Wills because he would be the cheapest and probably overall for his price would net out to be the best option. Your comes back in again. If Fields can improve his accuracy and vision, I wouldn't mind him to me, but he's not the sexiest. I do love his ability as the runner. He's 26. He's going to be 26 years old. He's a dual threat type guy. You have to worry about him and the running back when he's on the field. Can't hurt to take a flyer on him, pay him $8 million for one season. You're not going anywhere really next season, so start him for a few games, see what you have with him. JoJo sign Fields for 2 years and draft quarterback in 2026. I do 2 years for $12 million, 1 year for $8 million. That's what I do. That's what I do with Justin Fields. That's the most I've been willing to pay him. Gary says not big on Fields. Bro can't throw the football. Who are you taking over Justin Fields though as a free agent option? That's the thing. The options aren't all that great. We're not picking from the cream of the crop here. Dixon, Connor, who would you take? Who would you take at 7 cornerback? Clarify here. Would you take a cornerback at 7? Is that what you're trying to say? Dixon, clarify. We'll get back to you. Robert, they're taking a D lineman at 7. If Graham and Abdul Carter are both off the board, I don't see what defensive lineman they would take. Maybe they reach on Mike Green or Shamar Stewart, who just have great traits. Shamar Stewart reminds me a lot. Not Shamar Stewart, excuse me. What's his name? Mike Green from Marshall reminds me a lot of Bryce Huff. A lot of Bryce Huff. Jimmy says, Connor, I want to hear you say it. Jimmy, say what? Clarify, we'll go back to you. Dixon says, yes. I would not take a cornerback at 7. The Jets need to fill a lot of holes. I would take Tyler. The Jets need to fill a lot of holes. Yes, cornerback 2 is a big hole for the Jets. It's a pressing need. However, I think they could fill that in free agency rather using the 7th overall pick on it. I'd rather take Tyler Warren over a Will Johnson, a Jahad Barron. I'd take a lot of names before I took a cornerback with the 7th overall pick. I'll say that. I think that's a little rich there. Like I said, though, appreciate you all tuning in. 54 of you in the building. Please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. It's completely free, and it's a great way to help contribute to the show. We're going to wrap up here soon, so last chance to call one of the show. Last chance to get your questions in. 52 of you watching here on this Tuesday evening. Appreciate your support as always. Dixon says, I like Eccles. I like Eccles, too. I think you bring him back next year. 2 years, $8 million. 2 years, $10 million. Something along those lines, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable putting him in right away as the cornerback 2 to play opposite Sauce Gardner. I don't feel comfortable. I really don't. I would rather spend big at the cornerback position in free agency, whether that's adding a Charvarius Ward, who has the connection to Aaron Glenn, not Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes, or bringing in a Carlton Davis, who has the connection to Aaron Glenn. I like Eccles, but I think he's a CB3. I don't think he's a legit CB1, CB2, excuse me. I don't think he's a legit CB1 at the NFL level. Let's remember here, Eccles is more of a slot guy too. Also, let's keep this in mind here. Let's keep this in mind here. I don't know. We don't know if he fits Steve Wilkes or Aaron Glenn's scheme. We don't know that. That's going to be very important, the way Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn are going to adjust this defense based on who fits their scheme. It's going to be really interesting to see how the whole offseason unfolds. Harlan, Jets could take the other defensive tackle, Grant. Kenneth Grant is someone I've known. Oh my God, he's been flying up draft boards recently. He went from being, a second rounder just weeks ago to now being, spoken about in the top 10. It depends who's on the board. It really depends. I would take Tyler Warren over Kenneth Grant. That's going to be the comp. Jimmy, who was right about Howard? Me, I was, LOL. When I made that opinion, Jimmy, it was a little uneducated. I barely looked into his analytics. I didn't look into the pro-level offensive scheme. If he was running the same offense as Jackson Dart, he would be like my quarterback 4 or 5. It's the only reason. That's one of the main reasons he's at 2 for me. Also, I watched one game. So, sure, Jimmy, I will give that to you, that you were quicker drawn to the opinion that Will Howard is a legit quarterback. The Plage 44 GN. Appreciate you tuning in. How about Lions backup Hendon Hooker? I'll trade a day 3 pick from him. His upside, he knows the offensive scheme. If he's going to come in as a backup, certainly not as a starter, though. Dixon, Eccles over Stiggers. We haven't seen anything out of Quantez Stiggers. We don't know what he can do. So, yes, Eccles over Stiggers. Yes, I would take Brendan Eccles over Quantez Stiggers any day of the week because we haven't seen Quantez Stiggers play at the NFL level yet. We haven't. Maybe this is the year we get this opportunity. Maybe they, throw him back to the safety position because the Jets have a huge hole at the safety position. Him and JBC. JBC can transition back. Maybe you see what you have with Stiggers there. Who knows? We're going to wrap up here soon, though, so last chance to call into the show. Last chance to get your final questions, comments, thoughts, and memberships in. Appreciate your support as always. Listen to our guy Liam and shoot him a sub. Hit that sub button for us as well, please. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us grow significantly. Trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. Like, share, and subscribe. Please, please, please. Can't thank you enough for all the support. Jimmy Jets comes in with 5 gifted memberships at the buzzer. Jimmy, thanks so much for all your support. Appreciate you guys. Always hear your name called. You are a member. Thanks to Jimmy. John D. Lee, Dixon, Bite, Terrence Hill, Brandon Sanzone, you are all members. Thanks to our guy Jimmy Jets. Thank him in the chat. Jimmy's the best. 5 more raffle tickets for you. Appreciate all your support on the show as always. On that note, I think we're gonna wrap up tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joined by Matt O'Leary, fellow Jets content creator, who now has a weekly spot on the program. That's Wednesday. Thursday, we're joined by NFL draft analyst Cole Thompson for the first time this year. If you guys are new listeners and you didn't follow last year, you probably don't. You probably haven't seen our podcast hits with Cole. Cole's a great guy, great draft insight. So he's Thursday, and then Friday is Brian Costello. Was it Friday? Yes. Friday's Brian Costello of the New York Post. Saturday, Tigo in his weekly spot, and then Sunday we're still working on something. That's the outlook for the rest of the week here on NY Flight Jets Talk. This show is impossible without you guys. So please, like I said, just continue to help us grow because it's super fun talking Jets with you guys now every single night. And like I said, I couldn't do it without you guys. So massive shout out to you. You guys are the best. Can't thank you enough for all your support. That'll do it for me here on this Tuesday evening, February 18th, 2025. I am your host, Connor Long, signing off here on NY Flight Jets Talk, JTS, Jets.